Hey, what up, No Nation? It's your guy, Kelvin Hunt, editor of ChopChat.com. Welcome to the Built for Playmakers YouTube channel. First of all, we're going to give a shout out to all of you guys for supporting the channel. We are approaching 2,100 subscribers in just over 4 months, and we have just surpassed 4,000 watch hours. So now we're eligible for super chat, stickers, all that good stuff. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, make sure you contribute that way. Everything you can do is appreciated. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to discuss a false narrative from talking heads at ESPN and other networks that have been broadcasting about the Big Ten, SEC, and FSU. For whatever reason, there's a narrative of FSU playing a weak schedule, which is absolutely false. And I'm going to prove it in this video. So if you know me, if you read Chop Chat, you know I don't just talk. I back it up with logic and stats, meaningful stats. So if you want ammunition to combat your SEC or Big Ten buddies, screenshot this, take a picture, whatever, send it to them, share it on social media. None of this can be disputed. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. All right. So let me share my screen here. And hopefully you'll be able to see this. So what I did was I took FSU's schedule, Michigan's schedule, and Alabama's schedule. Put every team that they played down, the ranking at the time that they played the game, wins, losses, and then F+ ranking. So F+ ranking is basically a combination of FEI and SB+, two advanced metrics combined. And so those two metrics take out garbage time. They account their opponent adjusted. So there's, it's not like you're looking at total defense, which is a meaningless stat. It accounts for opponents and garbage time and all that good stuff. And so we'll start with FSU, right? So LSU was number 5 when they played them first game of the year. LSU finished 9-3. Southern Mississippi went 3-9. They were number 117 in F+. Boston College 6-6. They were number 82 in F+. Clemson 8-4, and they were number 23. A lot of people don't remember this, but Clemson was top 10 in the preseason. Clemson is now ranked in the top 25, and as they go into the bowl game. Virginia Tech was 6-6, and they were number 47 in F+. Syracuse was 6-6, number 70 at F+. Duke was number 16 when FSU ran through them in the fourth quarter. They finished 7-5 at number 29 F+. Wake Forest, I tried to tell Dave Clawson it was going to be a wrap before the season started. Here we are. 4-8, number 85 in F+. Pittsburgh fell way the hell off. They were in my top 3 overrated teams on the preseason. Right about that. 3-9 at number 84. Miami, again, another season of offseason champs, 7-5, but they were number 22 in F+. So I did see an improvement there. North Alabama, FCS, 3-8, and no F+ ranking. And then Florida was 5-7, thanks to FSU. No bowl for you guys because of FSU. Florida was number 46 in F+. And then Louisville was number 14 whenever FSU beat them with their third-string quarterback. Louisville was 10-3 and finished F+ at number 20. So a lot of people, say Louisville was trash, but number 20, I mean, better than the team that Texas beat in their conference game, which was Oklahoma State. Better than Iowa, who Michigan beat in their title game. So you look at it and you say, okay, well, wins and losses. FSU's opponents won 77 games. They lost 79 games. You say, okay, well, they're under 500. Yeah. But when you look at F+ rankings, the average for the teams that FSU played is 53, right? So 53 is the average of all the teams that FSU played, aside from North Alabama, because they don't have a ranking for F+. So FSU played and beat 7 top 50 teams in F+. 7. Okay? All right. So keep that in mind. We're going to go to Michigan. Michigan played ECU first. I live in North Carolina. I went to an ECU game this year. My niece is a cheerleader at ECU. ECU is garbage. finished 2-10 and number 111 in F plus. UNLV, mind you, these are non-Power 5 schools that Michigan is playing in the first 3 weeks. UNLV went 9-5, number 60 F plus. Bowling Green 7-5, number 81 in F plus. They finally play a P5 team, Rutgers 6-6, number 54 at F plus. Nebraska 5-7, number 64 at F plus. Minnesota 5-7, number 72 in F plus. Indiana 3-9, number 86 in F plus. Michigan State 4-8, number 92 in F plus. Oh wait, Purdue is 4-8, number 79 in F plus. Then they finally get to Penn State. Penn State, so it's week 10 before Michigan plays a ranked team. 10-2, and they're number 5 in F plus. All right. Penn State's best win is Iowa. They beat Iowa 31-0. Of course, Iowa has zero offense. They have a decent defense, but zero offense. But how good is that defense if they gave up 31 to Penn State? Maryland is 7-5, and they are number 31 in F plus. Number 2, Ohio State. They're 12-1, number 4 in F plus. But Ohio State's best win was Penn State. They beat Notre Dame, but Notre Dame was overrated. Penn State was Ohio State's best win. Okay. Then number 16, Iowa. They finished 10-3, and they were number 40 in F plus. So when you look at it, you say, oh, well, Michigan, their opponents had more wins than losses. 84 wins, 76 losses. But the average rating for the FP plus aspect of this is 60. So FSU's average in the F plus was 53, and Michigan's average on F plus was 60. How about that? So Michigan has 13 wins. 9 of their 13 wins came against either non-P5 teams or teams with a losing record. And I'm not talking 6-6. I'm talking about losing record. Excuse me. 5-7, 3-9, 4-8. Look, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight weeks where they played a team with a losing record, or eventually they finished with a losing record. Michigan is propped up by Penn State, Ohio State, and Iowa. Now, here's what you got to ask yourself. Michigan, they were losing to TCU 51-38 with 3 minutes to go in the playoff game last year. Okay, they scored a late touchdown to make it look better than it was. But for whatever reason, Michigan is ranked in the top 5 in the preseason. So, of course, Michigan's ranked top 5. They don't play anybody for the first 10 weeks. So, of course, they're not going to lose. So they're not going to drop Michigan, even though they're not playing anybody. Again, they don't play anybody ranked until week 10. So mind you, whenever you play in these weak scrub teams, obviously you're blowing them out. And so because of that, your starters get to rest and your backups get to play more, which limits snaps, limits the probability of guys getting hurt. And plus, these teams are not really physical teams. So again, you have the luxury of probably keeping your starters, healthier, so to speak. So when you do get to Penn State, you're fresh. Unlike FSU, when they play LSU first game, and then they play Clemson in week 4, those are 2 really physical teams in the first 4 weeks. So if you get banged up in those games, I don't know if you ever play football or not, but if you get banged up and you have a game the following week, it's kind of hard to allow that injury to heal, right? So not only did Michigan play a cupcake schedule, but they benefit of playing all of these soft teams and being fresh when they do play somebody that's decent. And again, Penn State's best win was, what did I say? Iowa. Right? Then they play Ohio State. And mind you, Michigan is cheating. or has been cheating in the past. That's why Jim Harbaugh is suspended. But for whatever reason, we want to just throw that out the window. All right. So then we get over to one more thing. So FSU played 7 teams and beat 7 teams in the top 50 F plus. Michigan only played 4 teams in the top 50 F plus. So then we go over to Alabama. Alabama did play a more difficult schedule. You could look at that just right off the top. They started out with Middle Tennessee State. They went 4-8. They were number 100 in F plus. Number 11, Texas, which they lost at home by 10 points. And Texas is number 6 in F plus. Florida was 6-6, and they were number 108. Mind you, South Florida, that is. Mind you, it was 3-3 or 6-3 at halftime. Number 10, Ole Miss, 10-2, number 17 in F plus. Michigan State went 5-7, number 69 in F plus. Texas A&M, 7-5, number 15 in F plus. Arkansas, 4-8, number 61 in F plus. Number 17, Tennessee. Now, mind you, Tennessee was ranked number 17 when they played. 8-4, they're number 19 in F plus. LSU had dropped to number 14. It was a game until Jaden Daniels got hurt. Of course, they go on Alabama wins that game. LSU again finished 9-3, number 9 in F plus. Kentucky was 7-5, finished 36 in F plus. Chattanooga was 8-5, no F plus ranking. Of course, they're FCS. And then Auburn, 6-6, and number 35 in F plus. That Alabama needed a 4th and 31 miracle Hail Mary to win that game. And then, of course, they do knock off Georgia, who's 12-1, number 3 in F plus. So when you look at wins and losses, Alabama does have 98 wins, 61 losses, and then the F plus average ranking for the teams that they play is 40. So 40 for Alabama. So that's tops. Michigan is number 60 F plus, and then FSU is at number 53 in F plus. So Alabama beat 8 teams that were they beat 7. They played 8, but they beat 7 teams, it looks like. Let me see. Let's count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. That's probably bad YouTubing. They beat 7 top 50 F plus teams. The same number that FSU beat. 7 top 50 F plus teams. So when we're talking about differences in schedule, if you're just going at the average of F plus rankings, which accounts for, again, opponent adjustments and garbage time touchdowns taken out, FSU is at 53 F plus average. Alabama's at 40. Michigan's at 60. So for all the talk about Michigan having, the number 1 FEI and all that good stuff, throw that trash out the window. How can you play all of these back teams and have a tough schedule? You're propped up by 3 teams whose best wins are really not that great, right? So when you're looking at it, yeah, FSU didn't play, a ton of great teams, but they played a lot of teams that are decent to good to pretty good. So over that sample, that means your margin for error is a bit smaller across the whole schedule. Whereas Michigan, you only got to worry about, basically 3 games. And again, you've played such a soft schedule in the first 9 weeks that you're relatively fresh, and, you can go into those games and play everybody and not have to worry about too much, right? Again, credit to Alabama. They played some tough games, but again, it's still not that big of a difference between what FSU did and what Bama did. I mean, look, FSU schedules they schedule teams they don't have to schedule. I mean, they went to LSU last year, beat LSU, played LSU at a neutral site this year, and beat LSU. They schedule Florida every year, beat Florida this year. Florida's not very good, but it's still a tough place to go and win in the swamp. I mean, Florida beat that Tennessee team that Alabama beat. So, what does that tell you? Next year, FSU will play Notre Dame out of conference. So it's not like they go out and schedule a bunch of whack teams like Michigan did. You got Southern Mississippi and North Alabama. That's the only non-Power 5 games that FSU had. Michigan played ECU, UNLV, Bowling Green in the first 3 games. Alabama played Middle Tennessee State, South Florida, and Chattanooga. So they had 3 non-Power 5 games as well. FSU only played 2 non-Power 5 games. So if you if you run into any Michigan fans or Bama fans or just fans from those conferences in general, and like I said, I had a Michigan fan tell me on social media the other night that if FSU played Michigan's schedule, they would have 4 losses. And I mean, really, what are we talking about here, bro? What are we talking about here? So I'm not about just talking stuff just to be talking. Whenever it comes down to it, I can show you the stats, show you the logic, and give you concrete reasons as to why FSU schedule was more difficult overall than Michigan and comparable to Alabama. I'm not here to defend the ACC. As an FSU fan, we don't do that. We don't do that corny stuff like SEC teams do. We don't root for other ACC teams. I'm a Florida State fan. Forget the ACC. It's a trash conference because they don't care about football, and that's why they are in the position they're in now. But FSU's always been a football school, always will be a football school. And so that's why you've seen the response from FSU fans since the snubbing on Sunday. So in the last video that I did, I talked about, stopping the whining and complaining and all that good stuff. But take action and to go and donate to the Battles End, Rising Spear, whatever you want to donate to, but basically support the players and the team. And shout out to the Battles End. I saw the last numbers, and it looks like that they are approaching 3,500 supporters, which was, I think, right at 1,000 or so a couple of weeks ago. So not only has FSU fans, kind of took that challenge and, got up off the mat and, they're ready to fight. I mean, they are, look, that's going to make a big difference whenever you start talking about accumulating talent from the portal and then, securing these high school guys in 2024 and beyond. And, yeah, that's what you want to see. I mean, like I said, if you can get any positive out of the snubbing, look, like I said, I still feel terrible for those guys. I mean, they went through hell this season. A lot of guys played banged up, and, shout out to those guys, man. I mean, they went through hell playing and just thinking that as long as they won, they were going to get an opportunity to play for a national championship, and it got snatched away from them. But also, shout out to the guys that are, deciding to go on. Saw that Johnny Wilson is going to declare for the NFL draft. Looks like he's going to be a top 100 pick, which is incredible because when you think about it, Johnny Wilson said himself that nobody wanted him out of the transfer portal when he went in there. I think he said he had one school that maybe reach out to him before FSU did. And I know there was a lot of people that were, questioning that take at the time because they had heard from some coaches, something blah, 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 blah. And it was so crazy at the time. I remember thinking we had just, we didn't sign any high school players in that prior class 2021. And so I knew we had to go to the portal. And I'm like, guys, this guy was a number 116 overall player in the 2020 class, 6'7", 225, 230. Like, that doesn't just grow on trees. And I mean, the kid had some natural ability or whatever. The question was, is he going to learn the offense and, be able to contribute or whatever? And I mean, my God, his contributions over the last 2 years. I mean, you don't win 3 or 4 games without Johnny Wilson. I mean, Oklahoma game, you don't win that game without Johnny Wilson. Period. The Louisville game in 2022, the game that Tate Rodemaker had to come in, you don't win that game without Johnny Wilson. You probably don't win the Boston College game this year without Johnny Wilson. He went off in the LSU game, and you kind of got overshadowed because Keon Coleman had 3 touchdowns, but Johnny Wilson had a 100-yard game in that one as well. So if you want to talk about the staff developing talent, I mean, Johnny Wilson had like 18 catches for 250 yards and 1 touchdown at Arizona State. He had a COVID season, and I know one of my guys in the comment section said that I smacked, so I'm trying to be conscious of that. So excuse me on that. But Johnny Wilson came and he's had nearly 50 catches over each year and 500 receiving yards and like something like 7 or 8 touchdowns. I mean, you take that all day long, and that's development. So not only can FSU coaches develop players from the portal, look at Jared Verse, look at Johnny Wilson. Look at Trey Benson. Trey Benson came off a horrific injury, and he's been nearly 1,000-yard back the last 2 years. But they can also develop the high school players. Look at A.Z. Thomas. A.Z. Thomas is one of the top corners in the conference. Ronaldo Green. I mean, the list goes on and on. So FSU is in a great position moving forward, as I've said time and time again. But I know we're trying to get over this whole snubbing thing, and like I said, I kept hearing some fans, trying to play or downplay FSU and what they accomplished this year. And I was like, man, look, let me look into this, because when I look at Michigan's schedule, it's like there's no way that's the toughest schedule. There's no way these FEI stats are right. So basically, FEI measures if you play a bunch of crap teams and you beat them. Basically, it measures the point differential. So I'm like, well, if you play 9 trash teams, yeah, it's going to be a large differential. So that should rank you high, right? But again, when you look at the FEI and then F plus combined, I mean, that kind of gives you a more accurate picture, because it is opponent adjusted, and it does take out garbage time and things like that. So there it is, man. There's no way you can dispute that. I mean, like I said, you're talking about an easy schedule for the first 9 weeks for Michigan. Play basically 3 teams. You're healthy because you played a soft schedule for the first 9 weeks. Again, Alabama, they did play a tougher schedule, but at the same time, they have been acquiring talent over the years, and so they have depth that can withstand injuries and things like that. And so that's where FSU is lacking, and where they're trying to play catch up, and they're transitioning into that as far as taking less transfer portal players and then bringing in more high school players. But that's what you will see in the bowl game. And the crazy thing is, I don't even know who's going to play in the bowl game for FSU. I mean, you've had several guys that already hit the portal. Some of them probably were not going to play anyway, but Johnny Wilson, he's not going to play, but he's a starter. Keon Coleman probably not going to play. He's a starter. I would doubt that Jaheim Bell plays. He's a starter. Marqueason Douglas probably would have got some time, since Jaheim Bell's going to be gone. He's in the portal, and that is where the difference is going to come when you're playing a team like Georgia, Alabama, or whatever. Whenever you take the top, 25 to 26 players away, those teams, because they have been established longer as far as recruiting at a really high level, that's where the difference is in the 2 deep and those guys on the depth chart there. So it'll be interesting to see who plays for FSU. I know they're working the portal. Seems like there's some momentum there with acquiring some key players. I know the whole saga with Patrick Payton, and I told people last night when all this stuff went down, and I'm recording this Thursday night, by the way. So that was, Wednesday night. That was Tuesday night when all that went down. And I was like, the battle's in. They do a really good job of keeping who they want to keep. And then if somebody wants to go, if they feel like they're not valuable enough to keep, then they'll let them go. And they haven't been wrong yet, really. And so I felt like if they were like willing to let him go, then either his value wasn't what they thought it was, he was just asking for a crazy amount of money. So it sounds like they're trying to work some things out. We'll see. But I agree with what the Battle's End is doing. They're not dummies. It's a business. You can't go out there and just overpay someone. You can't allow one player who thinks their value is higher than what it is to throw off your whole collective and how you approach business. It's terrible business sense. So I trust those guys. I'm sure they'll get some quality players from the portal, and along with closing this 2024 recruiting class really strong. So again, I just wanted to get that out there as far as this narrative that the FSU played a soft schedule or they played a lot of trash teams. Again, when you look at it in totality, their schedule was more difficult than Michigan's in the vicinity of Alabama. So look, they deserve to be there. They went undefeated, and I'll always believe that. I'll never accept the fact that how the committee did that team. That's ridiculous. They deserve to be there. But again, we can't do anything about it. I mean, look, we're going to play in the Orange Bowl. Whoever goes down there, as far as the team goes, we'll support them. See how it shakes out. But like I said, now the charge is if you're not contributing to the collective or what have you, every little bit helps, and I would encourage you to do so. And again, if you feel like this was informative to you or it was entertaining, we would appreciate any contributions, what have you. And if not, it's all good. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We're just here as a passion of mine, and I enjoy talking about FSU football. So should have another video in the next day or so, I would think, hopefully, just depending on what news breaks and if there's any acquisitions or departures and all that good stuff. And until then, go Noles.